Have you ever wondered why the world seems so full of suffering when love is our natural state? This question has lived in my heart for many years, and perhaps it lives in yours as well. We are born into this world as pure love, yet somewhere along the way we learn to dream a different dream. We learn to see ourselves and others through eyes that are not our own. From the moment we take our first breath, we begin to learn the dream of the planet. This dream is not something we choose consciously. It is passed down to us like an inheritance we never asked for. Our parents, with all their love, teach us this dream. Our teachers, our community, our society, they all participate in this grand teaching. But what they are teaching us is not truth. What they are teaching us is fear. The dream of the planet is built on the belief that we are not enough as we are, that we must earn love, that we must compete with others to survive, that there is not enough love, not enough abundance, not enough space for everyone to be free. This dream tells us that we are separate from each other, separate from life itself, separate from the divine love that created us. As children, we had no choice but to accept this dream. We needed to survive, and survival meant learning the rules of the world around us. We learned that when we behaved in certain ways, we received love and approval. When we behaved in other ways, we received punishment and rejection. Slowly, we began to believe that love was something we had to earn, something that could be taken away. We learned to judge ourselves through the eyes of others. We learned to see ourselves as good or bad, right or wrong, worthy or unworthy. We learned to carry the weight of other people's opinions as if they were truth. But these opinions, these judgments, these beliefs, they are not truth. They are simply part of the dream we inherited. T. He voice in your head that tells you that you are not good enough. That voice is not yours. It is the voice of the dream of the planet speaking through you. The fear that grips your heart when you think about being truly yourself. That fear was taught to you. The need to hide parts of yourself to be accepted. That need was programmed into you before you even knew what was happening. But here is what I want you to understand. You are not the dream you inherited. You are the dreamer. And as the dreamer, you have the power to dream a new dream. The dream of the planet functions like a massive agreement that everyone participates in without knowing it. We agree to see the world through the lens of fear. We agree that love is scarce. We agree that we must fight for our place in this world. We agree that suffering is normal, that pain is inevitable, that this is just the way life is. But what if I told you that none of these agreements are true? What if I told you that you made these agreements when you were too young to understand what you were agreeing to? What if I told you that you can change these agreements right now in this very moment? The dream of the planet operates through what we call domestication. You create a sacred space where healing can happen, where love can flow freely. Most people are starving for this kind of authentic attention in a world full of distractions. Your presence is one of the most precious gifts you can offer. Presence is also the antidote to suffering. Suffering happens when you resist what is happening in this moment, when you wish things were different than they are. But when you are fully present and accepting of what is, suffering dissolves. This does not mean becoming passive or tolerating harmful situations. It means responding to life from a place of clarity and peace, rather than reacting from a place of resistance and fear. You can cultivate presence through simple practices. Pay attention to your breath as it flows in and out. Notice the sensations in your body. Listen to the sounds around you. Feel your feet on the ground. These simple acts of attention anchor you in the present moment and help you remember that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes your thoughts. Gratitude is another doorway into presence. When you take time to appreciate what is here in this moment, the roof over your head, the food on your table, the people who love you, the very fact that you are alive, you naturally become more present. Gratitude connects you with the abundance that is always available when you are fully here. The ultimate flowering of the spiritual journey is the embodiment of unconditional love. This is love that flows freely without requirements, without expectations, without need for anything in return. This is love that sees the divine in every person and every situation, even when that divinity is hidden beneath layers of fear and pain. Unconditional love is not the same as being permissive or allowing others to treat you poorly. Unconditional love includes boundaries, discernment, and sometimes saying no. But these boundaries come from a place of love rather than fear. They are designed to protect the sacred space of your heart so that you can continue to love purely. Learning to love unconditionally is perhaps the most challenging practice you will ever undertake. And it begins with learning to love yourself unconditionally. This means accepting all parts of yourself, the parts you are proud of and the parts you would rather hide. It means treating yourself with kindness when you make mistakes. It means forgiving yourself for all the times you have chosen fear over love. Self-love is not selfish. Self-love is the foundation that allows you to love others authentically. When you truly love yourself, you are not seeking to get love from others to fill an empty space inside you. You are overflowing with love and naturally sharing that overflow with the world around you. Unconditional love sees beyond the personality, beyond the ego, beyond the roles and masks that people wear. It sees the eternal soul, the divine essence, the love that every person truly is beneath their conditioning. When you look at someone with the eyes of unconditional love, you see who they really are, not who they have learned to pretend to be. This way of seeing has tremendous healing power. When you see someone's true nature, you reflect that truth back to them. You help them remember who they really are beneath all their fears and defenses. You become a mirror for their divinity, just as they become a mirror for yours. Unconditional love does not mean trying to save or fix others. It means loving them exactly as they are while trusting their own journey of awakening. It means offering your love without attachment to how they receive it or what they do with it. It means loving for the joy of loving, not for what you might get in return. This kind of love extends beyond people to include all of life. When you love unconditionally, you develop reverence for the earth, for animals, for plants, for the elements that sustain all life. You begin to see the sacred in everything, to recognize that all of existence is a manifestation of the same divine love that you are. The practice of unconditional love transforms you from the inside out. It dissolves the walls around your heart. It heals old wounds. It brings you into alignment with your true nature. And as you embody this love more fully, you become a healing presence in the world. You become part of the solution to the pain and separation that humanity is experiencing. The transformation of the world begins with your personal transformation. Every moment you choose love over fear, you are contributing to the healing of the collective dream. Every time you respond with compassion instead of judgment, you are helping to shift the consciousness of humanity. Every act of authentic love sends ripples through the web of connection that links all beings. You may sometimes feel that your individual efforts don't matter, that the problems of the world are too big for one person to make a difference. But this is an illusion created by the dream of separation. In truth, everything is connected. Your inner peace contributes to world peace. Your personal healing contributes to the healing of humanity. Your choice to love contributes to the transformation of fear-based consciousness into love-based consciousness. The new world of love is not something that will happen in the future when enough people wake up. The new world of love is available right now, in this moment, in your own consciousness. Every time you choose to see with the eyes of love, you are living in the new world. Every time you respond from your heart instead of your fears, you are creating the new world. This transformation is not about perfection. It is about direction. It is about making the choice moment by moment to align with love rather than fear. Some days you will do this easily. Other days you will forget and fall back into old patterns. This is part of the human journey. Be patient with yourself. Be compassionate with your process. Remember that awakening is not a destination, but a way of traveling. The practices that support this transformation are simple, but not always easy. Daily meditation, even for just a few minutes, helps you connect with the stillness beneath your thoughts. Regular time in nature reminds you of your connection to all life. Conscious breathing brings you back to the present moment. Gratitude opens your heart to the abundance that is always available. Surround yourself with others who support your growth and awakening. Seek out communities of like-minded souls who are also committed to choosing love over fear. Read books that inspire you. Listen to teachings that remind you of your true nature. Create an environment that supports your highest self rather than your smallest self. Remember that this is a practice, not a performance. There is no perfect way to do this work. There is only your sincere effort to align with love, your willingness to keep choosing consciousness over unconsciousness, your commitment to being the change you wish to see in the world. Notice this moment. Feel the love that you are. Sense the infinite possibility that exists in your heart. The dream of fear is ending, and the dream of love is beginning. You are both the dreamer and the dream. You are both the question and the answer. You are both the seeker and what you have been seeking. Consider how this truth lives within you. Write your reflections, if you feel called. Feel into the knowing that you are not separate from the love you seek. You are not separate from the peace you desire. You are not separate from the joy that is your birthright. You are all of these things and so much more. The journey we have taken together through these words is really a journey back to yourself, back to the love that you have always been but may have forgotten. The dream of the planet told you many stories about who you are, but none of those stories were true. The truth is simpler and more beautiful than any story. You are love, you have always been love, and love is all there is. This knowing changes everything and nothing. Everything changes because when you truly know who you are, you can never again believe the lies that fear tells you about yourself. Nothing changes because love has always been your nature. You are simply returning to what was never actually lost. The world you see around you is a reflection of the collective dream of humanity. As more and more people awaken to their true nature, as more and more people choose love over fear, the reflection changes. The new world of love is not something that will be imposed from the outside. It is something that emerges naturally as consciousness evolves, as hearts open, as truth replaces illusion. You are part of this great awakening, not as a spectator, but as an active participant. Every breath you take with awareness, every choice you make from love, every moment you remain present to the beauty of life. These are your contributions to the birth of a new world. You matter more than you know. Your love is needed more than you realize. Your awakening is a gift not just to yourself, but to all of life. So breathe deeply into this moment. Feel your feet on the earth and your heart open to the sky. Know that you are held by forces of love far greater than your mind can comprehend. Trust the journey, even when you cannot see where it is leading. Love yourself, love others, love life itself with the fierce tenderness of one who knows that love is the only reality there is. The dream of love is not a destination you will someday reach. The dream of love is available right now in this eternal moment that is always beginning, always new, always full of infinite possibility. Step into this dream, live this dream, be this dream. The world is waiting for the love that you are. Just as we domesticate animals by training them to behave in certain ways, we domesticate humans through a system of punishment and reward. When a child expresses their natural joy and creativity, and the adults around them say, "Stop being so loud, don't be so silly, you're too much," the child learns to dim their light. When a child shares their truth and is told, "That's not how we do things in this family," the child learns to hide their authenticity. This domestication happens so gradually, so subtly, that we don't even notice it happening. We think we are learning how to live in the world, but what we are really learning is how to live in the dream of fear. We are learning to be afraid of our own power, our own truth, our own love. The domestication creates what I call the judge and the victim within us. The judge is the voice that constantly evaluates and criticizes ourselves and others. It measures everything against the standards we learned in the dream of the planet. The victim is the part of us that feels powerless, that believes we have no choice but to accept the suffering that comes from trying to meet impossible standards. The judge tells us we are not doing enough, we are not being enough, we are not having enough. The victim believes this voice and feels sorry for itself, feels angry at the world, feels hopeless about ever being truly happy. Together, the judge and the victim create an internal war that exhausts our spirit and keeps us trapped in the dream of fear. But the judge and the victim are not who you really are. They are simply characters in the dream you inherited. They are programs running in your mind, like software on a computer. And just as you can change software on a computer, you can change these programs in your mind. The first step is to become aware of these voices. Notice when the judge is speaking. Notice when the victim is complaining. Don't try to stop them or fight them. Simply notice them with compassion, the way you would notice clouds passing in the sky. They are not permanent. They are not truth. They are simply old agreements playing out in your consciousness. When you begin to see the judge and the victim clearly, you begin to see that you are neither of them. You are the one who is aware of them. You are the consciousness that observes these programs running. And this consciousness, this awareness, this is your true self. This is the part of you that was never domesticated, never programmed, never trained to be anything other than pure love. The wounds we carry from our domestication are like poison in our emotional body. Every time someone rejected us, criticized us, abandoned us, or hurt us, we created an emotional wound. And these wounds, when they remain unhealed, continue to influence how we see the world and how we relate to others. We learn to protect these wounds by building walls around our heart. We learn to expect the worst from people so we won't be disappointed. We learn to reject others before they can reject us. We learn to hide our true feelings so we won't be vulnerable to more pain. But these protective strategies, while they may shield us from further wounding, also keep us isolated from the love we truly desire. The poison of emotional wounds affects everything in our lives. It affects how we see ourselves, how we see others, how we interpret events. When we look at the world through wounded eyes, we see threats everywhere. We see rejection in neutral expressions. We hear criticism in innocent comments. We feel attacked when someone is simply living their own life. This emotional poison creates what we call projection. We project our wounds onto others and then react to our projections as if they were real. If we have a wound around abandonment, we will see abandonment everywhere, even when it isn't there. If we have a wound around criticism, we will hear criticism in every comment, even when none was intended. The beautiful truth is that these wounds, these places of pain in our heart, can become our greatest sources of wisdom and compassion. Every wound carries within it a gift. Every place where we have been broken open is a place where love can enter more deeply. Every experience of pain has taught us something about the nature of love, even if we cannot see it yet. Healing these wounds is not about forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. Healing is about transforming the poison into medicine. It is about taking the wisdom from our experiences without carrying the pain. It is about learning to see our past with the eyes of compassion rather than the eyes of a victim. The process of healing begins with forgiveness, but not the kind of forgiveness you might think. True forgiveness is not about condoning what happened or pretending it was okay. True forgiveness is about releasing the grip that the past has on your present moment. It is about choosing love over resentment, peace over anger, freedom over being right. Forgiveness is something you do for yourself, not for the person who hurt you. When you forgive, you are not saying that what happened was acceptable. You are saying that you refuse to let what happened continue to poison your life. You are choosing to transform the experience into wisdom rather than carrying it as a burden. This forgiveness includes forgiving yourself for all the ways you have participated in your own suffering, for all the times you believed the lies the dream of the planet told you about yourself, for all the times you chose fear over love because you didn't know there was another choice, for all the times you hurt others because you were hurting. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks the prison door of the past and sets you free to create a new future. As you begin to heal these wounds, you begin to see that the person who hurt you was also living in the dream of fear. They were also carrying wounds. They were also domesticated in ways that taught them to hurt rather than heal. This doesn't excuse their actions, but it helps you understand that their actions were not really about you. They were about their own pain, their own fear, their own unhealed wounds. When you can see this truth, your heart begins to open in a new way. You begin to feel compassion not just for yourself, but for all beings who are trapped in the dream of fear. You begin to understand that we are all walking each other home, all learning to remember the love that we truly are. Consider how this truth resonates within you. Write your reflections if you feel called. Notice what wounds you might be ready to heal, what forgiveness you might be ready to offer. to yourself and to others. Feel into the possibility that your pain could become your greatest teacher. Your deepest wounds could become your most profound gifts. The healing of emotional wounds is not something that happens overnight. It is a journey, a practice, a way of life. But every step you take toward healing is a step toward freedom. Every moment you choose love over fear is a moment you reclaim your power as the dreamer of your own dream. Beneath all the layers of conditioning, beneath all the wounds and fears and stories you have collected about yourself, there lives your true nature. This true nature has never been touched by the dream of the planet. It has never been wounded or diminished or changed in any way. It is the part of you that existed before you learned to doubt yourself, and it will continue to exist long after all the stories fade away. Your true nature is love, not the conditional love that the world taught you about, the love that must be earned, that can be lost, that comes with requirements and expectations. Your true nature is unconditional love, infinite love, love that has no beginning and no end. This love is not something you possess. This love is what you are. When you were born, you knew this truth without question. You did not doubt your worthiness. You did not compare yourself to others. You did not hide parts of yourself to be accepted. You simply were in all your magnificent authenticity. The light in your eyes was pure and bright because you had not yet learned to dim it. But as you grew, you began to identify with the thoughts in your head rather than the love in your heart. You began to believe that you were your thoughts, your emotions, your achievements, your failures, your roles, your relationships. You began to think that your worth depended on external things, how others saw you, what you accomplished, how well you performed in the dream of the planet. This identification with the mind creates what we call the ego. The ego is not bad or wrong. It is simply a survival mechanism that developed to help you navigate the dream of the planet. But the ego is not who you are. The ego is like a mask you wear, a character you play, a role you have learned to perform. Beneath this mask, your true self remains untouched and whole. Your true self does not need to prove anything to anyone. It does not need to be better than others or worse than others. It does not need to earn love or approval or acceptance. Your true self simply is, like the sun that shines without needing permission, like the ocean that flows without needing justification. The journey back to your true nature is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering what you have always been. It is about peeling away the layers of false identity until only truth remains. It is about learning to distinguish between the voice of fear and the voice of love within you. The voice of fear speaks loudly and urgently. It tells you that you are in danger, that you must defend yourself, that you must prove your worth. It creates stories about the past and worries about the future. It compares and judges and criticizes. This voice is the ego trying to protect you in the only way it knows how. The voice of love speaks quietly and gently. It does not argue with the voice of fear. It simply offers another perspective, another choice. It reminds you of your inherent worth. It invites you to trust, to open, to receive. This voice is your true nature, speaking through the noise of the conditioned mind. Learning to listen to the voice of love requires practice and patience. The voice of fear has been speaking for so long that it seems like the only voice there is. But as you begin to pay attention, you will notice that there is always another choice available. In every moment, you can choose to listen to fear, or you can choose to listen to love. Your true nature is not just love, it is also infinite creativity, boundless wisdom, and unlimited power. Not power over others, but power over your own mind, your own choices, your own life. This power has been with you all along, but the dream of the planet taught you to give it away. You gave your power to your parents, your teachers, your partners, your society. You allowed others to define who you are and what you are capable of. But no one can take your power from you without your permission. No one can diminish your true nature unless you believe they can. The moment you remember who you really are, you reclaim all the power you ever gave away. You become the author of your own story once again. This remembering is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing practice, a daily choice to align with truth rather than illusion. Some days it will be easy to remember your true nature. Other days, the voices of the dream of the planet will be loud and convincing, and you will forget. This is normal. This is part of the human experience. Be gentle with yourself in these moments of forgetting. Compassion for yourself is the fastest way back to remembering. Once you begin to remember your true nature, you realize that you have been the artist of your own dream all along. Every belief you hold, every agreement you have made, every choice you make, these are the brushstrokes with which you paint the canvas of your life. For most of your life, you have been painting unconsciously, using colors and techniques that others taught you. But now you can begin to paint consciously, choosing your own colors, creating your own masterpiece. The power of conscious choice is perhaps the most transformative gift you can give yourself. When you choose consciously, you are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are no longer at the mercy of other people's opinions or expectations. You become the deliberate creator of your own experience. Every thought you think is a choice. Every word you speak is a choice. Every action you take is a choice. Even your emotional responses, while they may feel automatic, are ultimately choices. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can always choose how you respond to what happens to you. The 4 agreements are tools that can help you make conscious choices that serve your highest good. When you are impeccable with your word, you choose to speak with integrity, to say only what you mean, to use your word in the direction of love rather than against yourself or others. Your word has creative power. It can build up or tear down, heal or wound, create beauty or create suffering. When you don't take anything personally, you choose to see that other people's actions and words are about them, not about you. You free yourself from the need to defend against every comment, every look, every perceived slight. You realize that when someone is angry or critical or unkind, they are simply expressing their own inner state. It has nothing to do with your worth or value. When you don't make assumptions, you choose to ask questions instead of filling in the blanks with your own fears and projections. You give others the gift of being heard and understood. You give yourself the gift of clarity and truth instead of the confusion that comes from assumptions. When you always do your best, you choose to give your authentic effort in each moment, knowing that your best will vary from day to day, moment to moment. You free yourself from perfectionism and self-judgment. You focus on the process rather than the outcome, on love rather than results. These agreements are not rules to follow perfectly. They are practices that support you in choosing love over fear, truth over illusion, consciousness over unconsciousness. Every time you apply one of these agreements, you are exercising your power as the artist of your own dream. Conscious choice Reiki. We urge you to take responsibility for your life in a way that you may never have before. This responsibility is not a burden. It is the key to your freedom. When you truly understand that you are creating your own experience through your choices, you stop being a victim and become an empowered creator. This empowerment extends to every area of your life, but perhaps nowhere is it more important than in your relationships. The dream of the planet has taught us many distorted ideas about love and relationships. We have learned to seek in others what we believe we lack in ourselves. We have learned to try to complete ourselves through another person. We have learned to make others responsible for our happiness and to feel responsible for their happiness in return. But true love, the kind of love that transforms and liberates, is not about need or dependency. True love is about two whole beings choosing to share their completeness with each other. It is about seeing the divine in another person and reflecting that divinity back to them. It is about loving someone so much that you want them to be free to be exactly who they are, even if that means they choose to walk a different path than yours. When you begin to love from your true nature rather than from your wounds, your relationships transform completely. You stop trying to change people and start accepting them. You stop taking their moods and behaviors personally and start seeing them as expressions of their own inner journey. You stop making them responsible for your happiness and start taking responsibility for your own emotional well-being. This transformation in how you love begins with how you love yourself. For most of your life, you have probably had a conditional relationship with yourself. You have loved yourself when you were successful and criticized yourself when you failed. You have accepted yourself when you were good and rejected yourself when you made mistakes. But this conditional self-love keeps you trapped in the cycle of seeking validation from others. Unconditional self-love means loving yourself exactly as you are in this moment, not as you could be or should be or might become. It means treating yourself with the same kindness you would show a beloved friend. It means speaking to yourself with gentleness rather than harshness, with encouragement rather than criticism. When you truly love yourself, you no longer need others to love you in order to feel complete. You no longer compromise your integrity to maintain relationships that don't serve your highest good. You no longer accept treatment that dishonors your worth. You become a magnet for people who can love and respect you because you love and respect yourself. This self-love also transforms how you love others. When you are not seeking to get love from others, you are free to give love without attachment to the outcome. You can love people without needing them to love you back in a particular way. You can appreciate others for who they are rather than for what they can give you. In romantic relationships, this creates the possibility for what I call the mastery of love. Instead of two incomplete people trying to complete each other, you have two whole people choosing to create something beautiful together. Instead of possession and jealousy, you have freedom and trust. Instead of need and dependency, you have choice and mutual respect. This same transformation happens in your relationships with family members, friends, colleagues, and even strangers. When you see everyone as a reflection of the divine love that you are, every interaction becomes an opportunity for healing and growth. When someone is difficult or unkind, instead of reacting with anger or hurt, you can respond with compassion, understanding that they are acting from their own wounds and fears. Notice this moment. Breathe into the space between your thoughts. Feel into the love that you are, the love that has never left you, the love that is always available to transform any situation. Consider how this truth resonates within you. Write your reflections if you feel called. There is a calling within you that has been waiting your entire life to be heard. This calling is not about what the world expects from you or what others think you should do with your life. This calling comes from the deepest part of your being, from the love that you are. It is your personal legend, the unique gift that only you can bring to this world. Your personal legend is not necessarily a career or a role or a title. It is the authentic expression of who you truly are. It is the way your love wants to move through you and touch the world. For some, this might be through art or music or writing. For others, it might be through healing or teaching or simply being a loving presence in their family. There is no hierarchy of importance in personal legends. The mother who raises her children with conscious love is fulfilling her personal legend just as much as the artist who creates masterpieces or the healer who tends to the sick. The tragedy is that most people live their entire lives without ever expressing their personal legend. They get caught up in the dream of the planet, believing that they must follow the paths that others have laid out for them. They choose careers based on security rather than passion. They make decisions based on fear rather than love. They listen to the voices of others rather than the voice of their own heart. Fear is the greatest enemy of your personal legend. Fear tells you that you are not talented enough, not worthy enough, not brave enough to follow your calling. Fear whispers that you will fail, that you will be rejected, that you will end up with nothing. Fear convinces you that it is safer to live a small life than to risk living a magnificent one. But what fear does not tell you is that not following your personal legend is the greatest failure of all. When you deny your authentic self, when you refuse to let your love express itself in the world, you create a deep sadness within your soul. You may achieve all the things that society tells you are important, money, status, security, but you will feel empty inside. Because you are not living your truth. Your personal legend requires courage, but not the kind of courage that the world usually talks about. It does not require you to be fearless. It requires you to feel the fear and choose love anyway. It requires you to trust that the universe that created you also has a place for your unique expression. It requires you to believe that your authentic self is not only acceptable but necessary for the healing of the world. The journey to living your personal legend often begins with a sense of dissatisfaction with your current life. You may feel like you are living someone else's dream rather than your own. You may feel like you are playing a role that doesn't fit who you really are. This dissatisfaction is not a problem to be solved. It is a messenger trying to wake you up to your deeper calling. Living your personal legend does not mean abandoning all responsibility or running away from your current life. It means bringing more consciousness, more authenticity, more love to whatever you are doing. Sometimes it means making dramatic changes. Sometimes it means making subtle shifts in how you approach your existing circumstances. The key is to listen to your heart and trust its guidance. Your heart knows the way even when your mind is confused. Your heart can feel the difference between a path that is aligned with your truth and a path that takes you away from it. When you are moving toward your personal legend, you feel energized, inspired, alive. When you are moving away from it, you feel drained, disconnected, like you are swimming against the current of your own life. The world needs your personal legend. The world needs your unique way of loving, your particular gifts, your special perspective. There is something that only you can contribute to the healing and transformation of our planet. When you hold back your gifts out of fear, the world loses something precious and irreplaceable. Living your personal legend is not about achieving something external. It is about becoming who you truly are. It is about aligning your outer life with your inner truth. It is about letting your love find expression in whatever form feels most authentic to you. When you do this, you inspire others to do the same. Your courage to be authentic gives others permission to be authentic as well. The practice of presence is the foundation upon which all transformation rests. Presence is not something you achieve once and then possess forever. Presence is a moment-by-moment choice to be fully here, fully aware, fully alive to what is happening right now. Most of the time, we are not present to our lives. We are lost in thoughts about the past or worries about the future. We are running on autopilot, going through the motions without really being here. We miss the beauty that is always available in this moment because we are somewhere else in our minds. The past exists only in your memory. The future exists only in your imagination. But life, real life, is always happening now. Love is always available now. Peace is always accessible now. Joy is always possible now. But you can only receive these gifts when you are present to receive them. Presence is not about having no thoughts. Presence is about not being lost in your thoughts. It is about being aware that you are thinking while maintaining your connection to this moment. It is like watching clouds pass through the sky. You see them, but you don't become them. You remain grounded in the vast awareness that observes the clouds. When you are truly present, you begin to notice things you have never seen before. You notice the quality of light in your home. You notice the expression in your loved one's eyes. You notice the feeling of your breath moving in and out of your body. You notice the miracle that you are alive in this moment, that your heart is beating, that you are part of the infinite web of life. Presence transforms even the most ordinary activities into sacred experiences. Washing dishes becomes a meditation. Walking becomes a prayer. Eating becomes a communion with the earth that has nourished the food. When you are fully present, there is no such thing as a mundane moment. The practice of presence also transforms your relationships. When you are truly present with another person, you give them the gift of being seen and heard.